Welcome to Nic On Knicks, where your boy N.I.C rants about the latest Knicks news. Hey man, the kids got a chance to play today. Today, the kids got a chance to play. Everybody who was battling for a rotation spot, everybody who was battling for a roster spot, they got a chance today. Not many of them did much with that chance. Knicks get smacked by the Wizards 120 to 103. And other than Tyler Kolek, is there anybody else who really distinguished themselves or, continue to lobby and continue to win a position, whether it be in the rotation or actually on the roster? Can't really say so. There was a couple bright spots. There was a couple things that I saw that I liked. But overall, this Knicks effort, I'm not going to say it's alarming. We're playing, we're not playing 6, potentially 7 rotation players. The starting 5, no Josh Hart. Landry Fields also misses with an illness. I don't know. But there's something that tells me that Landry Fields is now one of those guys who they feel like is definitely going to make the roster. And that quote unquote illness was just another way to get other guys minutes. Because, seriously, this is an audition at this point. This is an audition for Mike Brown and for the Knicks organization on whether or not you're going to get a spot on this roster. And when I say that, I'm talking about Brogdon. I thought I was talking about Shamet, but I'm telling you that illness shit makes me feel like maybe he was fine and, they already feel like he's going to be one of those guys. He has had a very strong preseason. The shot hasn't always been there, but I feel like he's been in great shape. He's been in the right spots on both the offensive and the defensive side, and I feel like Landry Shamet is going to end up being one of the guys who does end up making the final roster. So we're talking about Brogdon. We're talking about Garrison Matthews. And we are talking about Kolek and Dadier, really. Because if you're going to keep Shamet and you want to keep one of either Garrison Matthews or Brogdon, which I've seen a lot of people who are Knicks fans make cases for both, then that means that somebody on the roster has to go. Probably be via trade. And that means that it's Kolek or Dadier. And, what an interesting game basketball is, because if you watch that game today, you would say that Tyler Kolek is a much more effective and just overall better basketball player than Malcolm Brogdon. Brogdon started tonight. He, other than missing a layup here or there, didn't really distinguish himself. He's had some good moments in this preseason. He's shown some potential. He's shown why he's a former Rookie of the Year, 6th Man of the Year. Brogdon has skills. He can play. He knows how to run a team. The only question with him is injuries. And can he keep himself on the court, which is not something he's been able to do throughout his career, but especially lately. So you wonder with Brogdon, is he the type of guy that you want to give that roster spot to, knowing that there's a pretty decent chance that, he's not going to be out there on the court? I think Brogdon throughout this preseason has shown that he's a guy who would be very, very valuable to this roster if he can stay healthy. But what I've also seen is, I don't know, is this now because he's been going through a full camp and he's been playing, and you see the way that he performed in tonight's game, is that possibly a sign that he's already, physically not feeling his best? I don't know. Obviously, Mike Brown, the staff, they're watching him every day in practice, and that's one of the things. You got to have him working hard in this preseason and during this training camp, and you got to be able to see, can his body stand up to the toll that it's going to be asked to take if he's going to play this year and be a contributor on a contending team with, championship aspirations. So you got to ask yourself that about Brogdon. And you have to wonder if Kolek tonight and his performance, if that could possibly change any minds within the Knicks organization, because I think most people expect now Shamet to make it, and then if it's going to be, you know, I don't. I just think most people expect Brogdon to make it either. I think Garrison Matthews has some. He has some advocates within the fan base. Maybe he does within the Knicks building. None of my sources have told me so. But if it comes down to it, I think that it's going to be Brogdon over him. But then Kolek comes out tonight, and Tyler Kolek gives you just a little bit of a flash of what a lot of people kind of expected out of him. He's much more aggressive tonight. As somebody who's also a Jets fan, with Kolek, he kind of reminds me of Justin Fields, except Justin Fields has a reluctance to pass. Tyler Kolek passes too much sometimes. There's sometimes when Kolek, it's like, hey, man, you got to be aggressive and make them honor the fact that you could score a bucket, which will allow you to make the passes that you clearly are geared to and want to do. And I love that about him. He's a facilitator first. He led the nation in assists in his senior year at Marquette. And Kolek tonight comes out. He's aggressive. He gets up 13 shots, hitting 7 of those 13. Shoots 5 threes, even though he only hit 1. You add in the 5 free throws, that's a 20-point night. 20-point night, and he was a plus 10 on a night where the Knicks lose by 17. A lot of big minuses if you look at the plus minus tonight, you know, in the 30s, in the high 20s, especially from those starters. Brogdon is a team. No, he's a minus 30. The team high is Yabusele, who was minus 33 tonight. And Tyler Kolek shows you some of that potential, but I still think I don't think he'll end up being on the roster this time next week. And personally, I feel like Kolek is the guy that should be out. I think even with Brogdon's injury potential, the upside of him, if he can be healthy at the right time, which is, you know, in late April for another couple months. If you can get him to that point and he's healthy, I think he can give you more than a guy like Kolek can. Kolek is not giving you any meaningful minutes in big games in the playoffs or even in the regular season against playoff contenders. Let's just keep it a buck. But Kolek looked good tonight. I mean, you know, the Wizards, it's not like they have the most talented roster. Obviously, they're in pure rebuild mode. They got, you know, a couple first-round picks who, you know, both played tonight and both, you know, did pretty well for themselves. I really like this kid. Is it Keyshawn George? I like some of what I saw out of him. Yeah, no. That's not. No. Listen, they got a few light skinned dudes with like big bushy hair, so it's kind of hard to distinguish who's who with that team for sure. But I just thought that overall, you know, the Wizards came out early and they were the aggressor physically, and the Knicks were a little bit lax, and that let the Wizards get into a rhythm and get confidence. And once teams do that, it is now very hard to calm that down. I don't care who is on the other side. If they're wearing NBA jerseys, even if they're guys who are going to end up not making the team, if they're close enough to be on the fringe of a roster, you let them get confident and they're going to kill you. And that's exactly what happened to the Knicks tonight. Shout out to everybody checking me out live right now, man. You know, definitely throw your comments in there. How do you feel about this Knicks loss? Are you nervous? Does this, you know, make you feel any type of way? And who do you think should be the final roster spot or possible 2 roster spots between Shamet, Matthews, and Brogdon? And if it's 2, you got to tell me who you getting rid of. Definitely throw your comments in the chat if you're here live, if you are watching on the replay. Either way, I promise you I will reply. I do not promise I will be nice. You know, the one thing about tonight that gave me a little bit of pause. I'm not alarmed. No need for alarm. But just a little bit of pause, at least was a fleeting thought, and I guess now it's more than a fleeting thought because I'm sharing it with all of you. the way that they were being the more physical team, something that we saw from this Knicks team last season that was really one of our biggest faults, honestly, is that other teams were willing to take up the level of physicality and take a level of physicality to us, and we weren't willing. Sometimes we would respond, but it's not like that was our go-to. It's not like how we came out. And if you look at last season, definitely in that Detroit series, but in some of these, and really in every series that we played in against Boston and against Indiana, we were the opposition was the more physical team. And I think that there was a certain point against Detroit where we just got over that shit and said, okay, this is what it's going to be. And then we started playing a little bit more physical. And as we've seen, there's a trend in the NBA with officiating. It started not last season, but the season before at the All-Star break, that they are allowing a lot more contact. They're allowing guys to be a lot more aggressive. Slaps on the wrist are not getting called like they once were. Drives me insane with the way that they foul Brunson. Everybody calls him a foul merchant. I would say, if anything, he does not get his fair share of calls. And then it definitely drives me insane with the way that they officiate Cat, especially compared to how they officiate him when he's on the defensive end. But whatever the case may be, this is an adjustment that the Knicks have to make, and that this is where the league is going. The league clearly wants to, I think it's a bit of an overcorrection on a league where they started to just let, they start to basically eliminate physicality away from the game. And 90s basketball, dudes are beating each other the fuck up. and I feel like, especially as the Currys of the game came into the league, they started to try to pull back on that to, make people love scoring. People love scoring. But then the criticism became, you know what, man, now no one, all they do is shoot threes. You can't touch anybody. The game's not like it used to be. So obviously, just like everything else, man, everything in this world, whether it be, politics, economics, social norms, everything, it goes up and down, man. There's ebbs and flows. And right now, I think that the league is saying, hey, let's get more physical. I actually think it's went a little bit too far. There's certain plays, especially with the way that they were defending Brunson in the backcourt last year during the playoffs, it's just like, that's not even basketball. And I might be a little bit biased. I do recognize that. But yeah, man, it's not just Brunson. Even, just in general, I feel like they've let the game get a little physical to the point where it's not basketball, where it's like, this guy shouldn't be able to push this other guy directly in the chest with two hands, like while he's dribbling a ball. And that's not a foul. That's a fucking foul. Okay. All day, every day. You do that shit to me in the park, and, I'm going to tell you, you do that shit one more time, and we're going to see what time it is. So the game's overcorrected a little bit, but whatever the case may be, however the refs are calling it, the Knicks need to step up their level of physicality. And this team today, hey, it was not the starters, but that to me is somewhat of a mentality across the entire team, across the entire roster type thing. And the Knicks tonight gave me a little pause, just for the fact that I did not see the level of physicality. And I saw the Wizards' physicality being a level that was above ours. And that's something we need to fix. One of the things I like about adding Clarkson and Yabusele is that they are both guys who are willing to mix it up a little bit physically. I used to say last year, hey, the Knicks don't have one dude on that team that is going to square up with somebody if they're, getting reckless and either acting or talking wild. They're not all soft. You saw Cat, stick up for Mitch in the playoffs last year. You've seen Josh Hart be willing to mix it up with people for sure. Brunson is going to go back and forth with somebody, but he's not, getting chest to chest with somebody, pushing somebody, possibly squaring up. No. Everybody knows the clip of Jordan Clarkson squaring up with an entire team. I forget who he's playing against in the team. And Yabusele, going back to the Olympics and, some other things I've seen of him, he's not a guy who's scared to mix it up. Shit, he better not be. Big, strong dude. I know the French are, typically a more passive bunch. But nah, man, Yabusele, it's Yabusele or Sele. I hear people say it different all the time, and I say it different all the time. But I don't know. I guess I'll listen to hear Breen say it a few more times, and we'll go with that. The saga of this chair, man. I just can't figure out how to keep it up. I've had this chair for a few years. It's just too expensive for me to buy a new one, but I can't figure out how to keep it at its highest height and not slowly creep down. And it's most likely, the error was in me putting it together. Knicks, man, hey, listen. It's a preseason game. It's a game where you have 7 rotation players not playing. So let's not look too much into it, but the physicality aspect of things or lack thereof, especially with the way that this team, got out physicaled. Not quite punked, I wouldn't say that, but definitely got out physicaled sometimes last year. A little alarming to see that jump off the screen like it did tonight. I need the whole team across the board to just get a little bit more aggressive, handsy, and just willing to take it to the other team and make the refs make the calls sometimes. Jordan Clarkson, as he said, as anybody who's ever watched him knows, he's going to get the shots up, man. 4 of 11 tonight in 20 minutes. Puts up 12 points, had a couple threes, should have had an and one, but he missed the free throw. Stupid foul. I don't remember who it was on Washington, but I mean, he's shooting the ball. It's already out of his hand. You just reach out, touch him in his midsection. He, makes a move. The ref has to call it. He's standing right there. But Dadier, man, he is quite the conundrum. If you're a Knicks fan, when it comes going back to Summer League even of last season, he shows you flashes. Today, he hits his first 2 threes. Dude he seems like he's got all the physical tools. He's got the requisite size. He's got some shooting touch certain times. So far this preseason, before those first 2 threes tonight, his shot was looking pretty broken. I was talking about it on the podcast that I do with my dad. It's called He Did This to Me. And we talk Knicks, we talk Mets, we talk Jets, we talk sports in general. And we talked about Dadier, and I was like, yo, Dadier might be out. If we want to keep that second roster spot, if say you want to keep Brogdon and Matthews, assuming that you're already keeping Landry Shamet, yeah, I think Dadier is the next guy to go. And Dadier comes out, he hits those first 2 threes from each corner. He's looking good. Doesn't hit another shot for the rest of the game. Ends up with 8 points on 2 of 7, 2 of 6 from 3. He hits a couple free throws. Dadier had a couple rebounds where you see his size, you see his length. I also saw him fall asleep and give up an offensive rebound once. And my pop said to me yesterday that he feels like Dadier is a little bit too lackadaisical, that he doesn't show you that level of effort, that he plays it too cool. And I see that kind of as well. And I think when Mike Brown makes statements like he did where he says he could be an elite defender, clearly he's saying you have the tools, but you're not using those tools yet to be able to maximize or reach your potential. I think Dadier has a lot of potential, but I don't think Dadier has any potential to make an impact on this team this year. And the Knicks are clearly all in. So with that being the case, do you go for that extra veteran and now a Kolick and say a Dadier are on their way out? Whew, it's a tough decision. But we're going to get an answer soon. Like I said, a week from today at this time, the final rosters have to be finalized. And we're going to find out. And I think that Diawara, who, again, today, he hits a 3. Diawara looks smooth when he's got the ball. He looks very under control. He's tall. He's long. He plays better. He plays engaged defense consistently, even though it is in a small amount of minutes. He's going to be on a two-way deal, so that allows you to keep the roster spot. I think DOR's presence makes Dadier more expendable. This kid, Ev Bauman, or Ev Baumwan, or however you fuck you say this guy's name. Yo, man, you can tell he's a natural scorer. He's the type of dude, he averaged 35 a game when he was in high school. He's a natural scorer. He can go to the bucket. He can shoot the three. He's shown that the entire preseason. Obviously not going to make this final roster, but I don't know exactly what his contract situation is. I'm hoping that he's a guy that we can keep on like a two-way deal. Not a guy that I think will ever be able to, really be a huge impact player in the NBA, but not a guy that, I want to give up on, a guy that I'm okay with having on my roster. Garrison Matthews, he ends up being 1 of 5 from 3. Hey, bud, we need you to do that. Garrison Matthews, he's not Steve Novak on D. He's got more game. He can handle a little bit, pass, decent instincts, but I need him to hit his threes. And, after starting off red hot in that first game down in Abu Dhabi, it hasn't been as automatic. And so did he just, miss himself a few shots out of a roster spot? Very possible when it's this tight, for sure. Yabusele, 4 of 8. He's 2 of 5 from 3. I thought that he showed some he showed some flashes of some good things, but I also saw him defensively have some things left to be desired overall. Gives you 5 rebounds, gives you 2 assists. He's got a good feel for the game. Yabusele is the type of player that, hey, man, we just hope that we don't get put in a position this year where we have to ask too much of him. Because if you don't, I think he's a solid player. Him and Jordan Clarkson, I think, in that second unit, running some pick and roll, just some instant offense, I think is going to be, important. And it's going to be important if they give you instant offense because both of them leave something to be desired on the defensive end. Clarkson, 2 of 5 from 3. It was good to see him hit some three-point shots tonight. And, he's just creative with the ball. He reminds me of like a Lou Will type. Once he steps over half court, he's dangerous from everywhere. He's a 4-level scorer. Just, again, same thing with him. He's going to be some nights where he don't have it. We all know as Knicks fans that night where he was in the visiting jersey for Utah, I'm pretty sure it was last season, where, Mike Breen, he just was just disgusted by Jordan Clarkson's version of basketball during that game. Clarkson's putting it up. He's not, looking for his teammates. He ends up with 20 points, and Breen made some sort of comment basically saying they were hollow stats towards the end of the game. And so it's going to be interesting to see how many of those nights you have with Jordan Clarkson, and hopefully we have a team deep enough and a coach who's malleable enough that we get him out when he's having those types of nights. Keith Watkins, my man, in the chat. How you been, bro? Long time no see. We did take a little summer hiatus, me and the big guy, Keith. Go check out the latest episode of He Did This to Me that dropped yesterday. It is me and the big guy in the same room, studio show. We're on our way up. It's only going to get better. We got one camera wide view. We're going to have a couple different views, three views here and not too long. We on to come up, Keith. But Keith, man, you've been down from the jump. You are a Knicks, Mets, and Jets fan down in ATL, and I appreciate you, brother. Keith Watkins is a day one with the Nic On Knicks that He Did This to Me and the Independent Nick platform. Appreciate you, brother. Keith, what you think, man? We winning the championship, or the Knicks winning the championship this year? That's what I want to know from you. My pops. Yeah, y'all from that same generation. You've been around. You've seen a lot of Knicks teams. I don't want ain't no time for half stepping. You got to tell me right now: are they winning the championship or not? Hey, man, appreciate everybody who is checking us out on all the different platforms right now. Facebook, you got YouTube, Twitch, which I don't even totally understand Twitch, but we're trying to figure it out. X, and then as well as Instagram Live. And we also put this out on all of your streaming platforms. Link is in the bio. Come check us out. As always, like I said, comment. I will reply. I do not promise I will be nice. Keith Watkins, he says that he is on the ledge. So is that the ledge getting ready to jump out of the proverbial window and say that the Knicks will win the championship? Or does that mean you're on the ledge like, you're halfway in, you're halfway out, and you're not sure? I don't know. I need some clarification, Keith. Like I said, DOR is nice. Hey, this Wizards team is young. Like I said, they got two very, 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 young draft picks who have a lot of lot of potential to do something. They got a reclamation project in Malcolm Bagley, who the Knicks made him look like he was David Robinson tonight. Yo, this cat is absolutely dominant. He's grabbing boards. He's dunking all over everybody. Nobody has anything for Bagley. And I mean, I told my son today. My son's only 9, but he's very, very into basketball. Obsessed with the Knicks, but overall, just very into basketball. And I said, "Yo, man, that dude got drafted before Luka." He looked at me like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, man, got drafted before Luka." And I thought coming out of college, I thought Bagley was going to be an excellent pro because in college at Duke, he had the length, the athleticism, and then he would show you flashes of a little bit of offensive game that you were like, yo, I'm trying to tell you, man, this kid Bagley. Number 2 pick. That tells you plenty right there, right? But the Wizards, they have Trey Johnson, who they took 6th overall. And then they got this kid, Will Riley, who he showed me a couple things tonight. He popped off the screen a little bit. A couple things that he did. I was like, yo, man, that kid he's long. He's got some bounce. And, you can tell he's got some confidence to him. Yo, he was 7 of 11 tonight for 17 points. Will Riley with the 21st pick, he's looking like he might be a player in this league. And so Wizards are in total rebuild mode. And I thought the Knicks did exactly what you can't do, which is you cannot have a team that is in the Garden. I don't care if it's the preseason. Everybody loves to play there. Young team, aggressive team. They come out and they are going to want to get off to a fast start and show out. And the Knicks let them get to way, way, way too much confidence early. Once they let them get that confidence, the threes started falling. The Knicks were never able to recover. Knicks defense was subpar, especially in the second quarter, right around the 6-minute mark. They seemed like they turned it up a little bit coming out of a timeout, and then it fell off for the end of the quarter. And then a lot of the third quarter was terrible. Knicks defense did get better. The beginning of the third quarter was terrible. It got a little bit better. Knicks gave up 75 points in the first half. I don't care who's playing. That's unacceptable, man. I don't care if they're hitting their threes. I don't care if we don't have our top guys out there. That's not going to cut it. Just as a collective, they shot 53% from 3. Some of that was guys hitting shots. A lot of those shots were wide open. A lot of those shots were good shots that were created by penetration, guys getting beat off the dribble, someone that have a collapse, and the ball getting sprayed out. As Alan Hahn said multiple times in the game, the Wizards were playing a lot like Mike Brown always says that he wants his teams to play. I don't love that. I don't love that part, man. The lack of physicality is a little bit alarming for me. And, I think coming out of this game, the big stories are, even though we played our backups, the fact that we got handled the way that we did, and did Tyler Kolek do anything for his case to make the roster with his performance? Yeah, it's a little bit interesting exactly, what we're going to do. And my man Keith, he says, his heart says yes. Brain says we got a strong chance. And Keith is officially out of the window. I'm with you, Keith. When I saw the Knicks in Abu Dhabi, and I saw the amount of quality players that are on this roster, when I saw the way that we're pushing the ball, when I saw the way that specifically Mikal Bridges looks, and when I see the physical shape that both Cat and Cap are clearly in, I said we win in the championship. And nothing has happened to pull me off of that. I really think that this is the most ready-made championship roster that the Knicks have had in my lifetime. And I was born in 1984. Those 90s rosters were good. I actually think that the 99 roster, 2000 roster that ended up getting to the finals and losing to San Antonio is probably the best Knicks roster I've ever seen. Ernie Grunfeld got bounced, which he just popped up in the news for some other stuff that's not the best. But Ernie Grunfeld got bounced for while that team was just gelling. And then they end up being an eighth seed and they get all the way to the finals. And if Patrick Ewing doesn't hurt himself again and hurt his wrist again, and we have a player that's able to pull David Robinson and Tim Duncan away from the basket in that finals, could be a whole different series. Patrick was starting to get back into shape and play well too until he got hurt in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Pacers. And that's the best Knicks roster overall that I have ever seen. And I think that this roster's definitely better. It's about, is the coach going to get the most out of these guys? Are these guys going to play with the level of intensity that they need to on both ends of the floor? And when I say intensity, that doesn't just mean playing hard. It also means playing with the type of intent that we need on a nightly basis. And that comes from the top and them holding guys accountable. And that comes from the coach. And obviously, when it comes down to it, it always comes down to injuries, man. You need some injury luck. You need some injury luck. I just really hope that this Knicks team comes out strong, finds their way early, or at least, even if let's say they got to be 15-15. Let's say they were 14-16. I wouldn't quite push the panic button just yet, but I'd be pretty close. If they were 17-13, I'd feel a lot better. And that's not a huge margin, honestly. As we know, it is a game of runs and a season of streaks. You want your team to be that team that's going to be, pretty solid. Look at Cleveland last year. They started off, they just ran out to such a big lead that even in, the middle and latter half of the season, when they weren't that good, they were able to continue to hold that number one spot just because they made the gap so large early. I would love to see the Knicks do something similar to that. But, who wouldn't, obviously? I just think that when it comes down to it, the Knicks are a complete team. They have multiple different ways they can beat you. And I really think that by far the biggest X factor for this team, the biggest key for this team this year is Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges, both offensively and defensively, can he give you a level of attention to detail and a level of force where he is defensively playing more forceful. I saw a stat the other day. Dude averages like less than 2 fouls or less than a foul a game. Foul people more because you're being more aggressive. I'm okay with that, Mikal. And offensively, I've seen the signs this year, and I think a lot of it has to do with him playing with a coach who is utilizing and who is empowering him. He's being more aggressive on the offensive end. I also take him as the type of guy who listens to criticism, who watches the tape from last year and says, I got to be more aggressive. I got to get to the basket more. And I've seen him go straight to the basket strong, which there's no reason not to with his, go-go gadget arms. I've seen him do that more in this preseason than I saw him do maybe all of last season. And Keith is asking, hey, do we think that Bridges can make the All-Star game this season? I think so. I think whether or not Bridges or OG makes it as the third All-Star is going to have everything to do with how good the Knicks are. If the Knicks are the number one seed and they are by far, that's how you get the third All-Star. If not, it's very tough to get a third All-Star. I think that you have Cat being an All-Star, and I think that you have Brunson being an All-Star. I could also see Cat just having like a crazy total floor game this year, but not, and like crazy efficient, high assists, but not necessarily scoring the 24, the 25. I think there's a good chance that Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns get down to those 22, 23 numbers, but then the OGs and the Bridges of the world, they get up into that 19 and change, 20 and change level. I think that's very likely, or at least very possible. And, another big X factor and a guy who has looked great so far, this preseason. Though tonight he wasn't great, but he wasn't horrible. It's Deuce. I feel like Deuce has been an X factor for us for a few years now, but Deuce ends up going 4 of 12, 2 of 9 from three. And my biggest issue with Deuce, and it is something that I felt he had improved on so far when I see him in this preseason, but something that tonight really, really gave me, old Deuce feels. It's that handle, man. His handle is just not tight enough. He spends way too much time dribbling the basketball in traffic with the ball coming up to his waist. Yo, that shit is going to get stolen. And he got a pocket pick tonight. He fumbled and lost the ball another time or two. And I need Deuce, if you're going to, listen, man, if you're going to be sub 6'3" in the NBA, I can't worry about your handle. You got to be able to dribble, Deuce. You got to be able to dribble. And I think that that's something that has really hurt him. It's hurt this team, especially with our inability sometimes to get some of the pressure off of Brunson. And that's because he can't give it to Deuce in the backcourt against full court pressure against a team like Indiana. He can't dribble the ball up against TJ McConnell. He can't. And even in the half court, you saw it tonight. You see it often. When he gets in traffic, all of a sudden, he gets a little bit tentative. And like I said, he's dribbling way too high. Like, I played in a men's league after not playing a lot competitively for a while. And that was the one thing that I noticed immediately on the court was when I was younger and I was balling all the time and, I'm out here doing dribbling drills and doing all these things. When I got in traffic around people, I was real confident handling the ball. When I hadn't done it that much in a while, and I played in this men's league, and all of a sudden guys around me, or, I just didn't have the confidence when motherfuckers was around me slapping at the ball and shit. I did a lot. There was a couple times where I caught myself. I'm just like, I'm pick up the ball and get rid of it. And Deuce has a little bit of that in this game. He's a professional. He is 6'3" or shorter. I think Deuce is he's 6'2" tops. He's got to be a good ball handler, man, and that has to be something that he continues to develop in his career. He needs to get on it ASAP, bro. We ain't got no time to waste. He's got to be a better overall ball handler. The jump shot looks good, even though tonight he didn't have the best shooting night. Overall, the jump shot looks good. It's looked good this preseason. It's looked good for a few seasons, man. Deuce can shoot. Consistent minutes from Deuce. Consistent minutes for Deuce, I think, is only going to aid in his ability to shoot. And he's only going to become a more confident and better shooter overall with understanding that, hey, man, I'm going to get around this much time and I'm going to get about this many shots per game. I think shooters need that. They need consistency. But the handle, though, it needs some work, man. 120-103, Wizards over the Knicks. Knicks are now 3-1 in preseason. Their last preseason game will be against Charlotte on Friday. And then next Wednesday against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the two top teams in the East, according to the prognosticators and according to the odds makers, will be, coming out and laying an early claim to who's the best team in the East. It's going to be interesting. This Knicks team, they got a second year together, but they're under a totally new coach, so there's going to be adjustments there. But I hope that their continuity as a roster over the last few years, obviously last year, huge trade, big shakeup with, the key players. But overall, the roster is a lot of guys who have been playing together for a while. And I think a very complimentary roster. I think Leon Rose done an excellent job. And now it all comes to a head, man. This is the time. This is the time right now. This Knicks team has come back as a team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, that looks like and feels like a team that thinks they should win a championship. When you see your big time players and everybody coming back in tip top shape, that tells you something. That tells you that these guys took this off season like, hey, I need to step things up and get it to the next level because we as a team need to step things up and get it to the next level. Yo, please go subscribe. If you're on Twitter right now, give me a follow. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe, hit the notification so you know when your boy is going live. I got 3 different pods that I do on this channel. You know, one is Knicks based. One is me and my pops talking sports. We definitely talk Knicks, we talk Jets, we talk Mets, we talk sports in general. And then another one is just me talking whatever the fuck I want to talk about. But as always, I appreciate the love. I appreciate everybody interacting. And man, this whole podcast thing, since I've started doing it, I've had nothing but fun. It's continuing to grow. It keeps my old mind stimulated. And yeah, man, I just appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate you taking the time to check me out. And I'm really, really looking forward to what our Knicks can do this season. I think this is the year, guys. I really do. Guys and girls out there, I think that the Knicks really, really not only have a chance, but will win a championship this year. It's your boy N.I.C.